So due to that, I would like to roll vote every decision. With that 1.0 roll call.
Crump,
Here.
Smith,
Here.
Lockhart,
Here.
Zumba.
Here.
Stout,
Here.
Capron,
Here.
Note that all council members are present. 2.0, pledge of allegiance. Pledge of
I
allegiance.
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please brief those that are joined us this evening virtually on how they can prompt you or to get the attention to speak to the council, please.
Sure. So if you're joining us on your computer or mobile device, you can either send me a chat saying that you'd like to speak on a specific agenda item, or you can raise your hand. If you don't see the option to raise your hand, like if you're on a desktop, usually that's under the participants option. And if you click on participants, you should see in a box that appears an option to raise your hand. If you're joining us over the phone and you would like to speak, simply press *9, and that should let me know that you would like to talk. And that's it.
Thank you, Rebecca. 3.0, approval of agenda.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion by Kay, second by John. Conduct the roll.
Smith,
Yes.
Lockhart,
Yes.
Capron,
Yes.
Stout,
Yes.
Crump,
Yes.
Zumba.
Yes. Motion to approve agenda, carried unanimous. 4.0, motion to approve the minutes from the following meeting. 4.1, November 9th, 2020, regular council meeting.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion by Jeff, second by Alan. Are there any questions or clarifications on the minutes? Beth?
Capron,
Yes.
Stout,
Yes.
Zumba,
Yes.
Lockhart,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Crump,
Yes.
Motion to approve the minutes is submitted, carried unanimously. 5.0, public hearings. 5.1, public hearing on proposed amendment to the Anamosa corridor urban renewal area. I will open the public hearing. Anyone from the public reach out to you, Beth?
No, I did not receive any written or verbal comments.
No one in attendance or virtually has any questions for the council on this? I would entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
Motion to close. Second.
Motion by Rich, second by Galen to close the public hearing.
Stout,
Yes.
Capron,
Yes.
Lockhart,
Yes.
Zumba,
Yes.
Crump,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Motion to close, carried unanimous. 5.2, resolution to approve urban renewal plan amendment for the Anamosa corridor urban renewal area.
Move to approve.
Second.
A motion by Rich, second by Jeff. Any further discussion? Any public comment?
Lockhart,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Crump,
Yes.
Capron,
Yes.
Zumba,
Yes.
Stout,
Yes.
Motion to approve the urban renewal amendment carried unanimous. 5.3, public hearing. Public hearing on proposed purchase on real property from Interstate Power and Light Company. I will open the public hearing. Again, Beth, any
No,
contact from the public?
no, I didn't have any written or verbal comments.
Any public comment? I'd entertain a motion to close. Motion to close.
Second.
Motion by Alan, second by John, to close the public hearing. Beth, Beth?
Smith,
Yes.
Stout,
Yes.
Capron,
Yes.
Crump,
Yes.
Zumba,
Yes.
Lockhart,
Yes.
Motion to close the public hearing, carried unanimous. 5.4, resolution confirming purchase of real property, Anamosa, Iowa.
Move to approve.
I have a motion by Kay, who's second?
Second.
And motion by Kay, second by Galen, to purchase. Any further council discussion? Any public comment? Beth?
Crump,
Yes.
Capron,
Yes.
Zumba,
Yes.
Stout,
Yes.
Lockhart,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Motion to approve the purchase of the property, carried unanimous. 6.0, proclamations, none. 7.0, old business. 7.1, appointment of Jeff Stout to the downtown task force.
Move to
Move to
approve.
approve.
A motion by Kay, second by Alan. To appoint Jeff. Any further council discussion? Does the public have any comment? Beth?
Capron,
Yes.
Lockhart,
Yes.
Zumba,
Yes.
Stout,
Do I need to abstain, or it can be a yes or can it be abstain, whatever?
I guess you can abstain, yes.
Probably.
All right, Crump,
Yes.
Yes.
The appointment of Jeff Stout to the downtown task force carried unanimously with Jeff abstaining from voting. Congratulations, Jeff, for being officially approved to the downtown task force.
Thank you.
7.2, discussion and possible action on Sycamore Street proposal. Tim Wallace with Snyder and Associates. Rebecca, he may be virtual. Would you unmute him if necessary?
Who was that again?
Tim Wallace?
Tim Wallace. There we go. Okay, Tim, you should be good to go.
All right. Good evening, everyone. This is Tim Wallace, Snyder and Associates. I met on site with Shane about a month ago. Take a look at the Sycamore Street project. We kind of reviewed a few different options, and we narrowed it down to a couple, just kind of based on our conversations out there in the field, some site conditions. I did share a couple exhibits and some cost estimates with Beth. I'm not sure if those got passed along or not, but it came down to either a reconstruction of Sycamore Street to a 40-foot wide back to curb width, which is what it is today. And then the other option was the total reconstruction of it, replace it with a 29-foot width, which is what is to the east and to the west of that street. It seems like this is the lone block along Sycamore Street that has the kind of wider section. So what we would do is we would reconstruct it, you know, reconstruct the sidewalk, ramps at the intersections, make them ADA compliant. Retaining walls will need to be constructed with either option. The 29-foot width would definitely decrease the height and the need of those retaining walls, just because you know you have more room to work with grading of the earthwork there. And we did have noted on the exhibits that there were sidewalk on both sides. Some of those options, you know, we would look for more direction from you guys as a city on what your thoughts were on including sidewalk both sides, one side, kind of what your thoughts are for the corridor, I guess. So that's kind of where we're at. We understand that, you know, this project was originally talked about being an overlay, which is definitely a lot cheaper. Just when we were out there looking at the site, I mean, there's quite a bit. That curb and gutter, I mean, there's 8 foot on each side. We'll call it the curb and gutter width. I know it's kind of a wide section of curb and gutter, but 8 foot that I think would definitely have to be taken off and replaced regardless, just because it's kind of sloughing off. And, you know, in our opinion, once we start, you know, running construction traffic through there, it might end up, you know, sometimes scabbing on some curb and gutter may not be the best option. You might end up doing quite a bit more harm than what you want. So that's where we're at with, you know, either recommending the 29-foot or the 40-foot widths. So I guess I'll turn it back over to you guys to see if you have any questions for me or.
Well, I do have a question, Tim.
Yeah.
Narrowing it to the 29-foot, your cost estimates on the south side of the street, do they include doing anything with the driveways for those 3 houses? Yeah,
So we included reconstruction to the right-of-way. I mean, I think, you know, looking at some of those driveways out there, they're pretty steep. So I think, you know, as far back as, you know, you'd be willing to go, I think would definitely be helpful for those property owners. But our cost estimate just included the removal and replacement to the right-of-way line.
And is that with cement or blacktop?
Our cost estimate was for the concrete,
Okay.
which is the PCC. I will say that both of the estimates included, or the cost opinions included, the HMA or asphalt roadway, and then the PCC curb and gutter section, which seems like it'd be pretty consistent with the material that's out there today.
The 29 feet with the traffic that's on that road, we'd have to have no parking, at least on one side. There's just with the schools there's an awful lot of traffic, and it's just gonna be more dangerous with making it that narrow. I can't see spending another 80,000 to leave the width it is. I think that's too much too for the city. Shouldn't take on that much debt, but 29, I just don't. Safety factor is what I'm looking at. I live there, you all know that. That's not the reason, it's just that's a busy road.
Hey, John, going down to the east or west, is Sycamore Street have no parking on either side of it right now?
No, but you don't have quite the traffic. It seems like they come from the north on Davis and then head down to the school. That's where it seems like, there's some from the east, of course, but it's just, but there's no curb and gutter there either, so they can drive almost right on the edge of the street and not be as concerned about hitting something, I guess, or bumping the curb. But it's just, you'd have to have no parking at least one side. That's definite, to be anything safe.
Is 29 feet standard street width? I mean, like if a new street's put in or across town, is that the average? Is that normal?
I mean, it really varies. So I'm working on the US 151 bypass project as well, which we'll chat a little bit later. We're putting in a 31-foot back-to-back there. That's a pretty common. I think 28 is a pretty typical one. I mean, well, you know, when I say typical, it's in quotes. I mean, it's really just city preference.
I'm concerned about the cost. Not that your bids are out of the norm, they're within the parameters of what you would find if anybody bid this, but I'd like to be able to find a way for us as a city to maybe get involved in this in a way where we can save some money and do some of the work ourselves possibly. I know once we get over a certain amount, we got to have somebody oversee this. But can we take the initiative and go beyond that and find a way to do this less expensive with them still overseeing the project?
Well, are we in this? Are we here because, I mean, we overlay it every year. Is it because of that sidewalk or the steps there? Is that the issue? Or I think this has been looked at prior to me being on the council. So what is the reasoning that this is becoming such a project?
ADA compliance.
Well, 80, if I'm not mistaken, ADA is in a sense a byproduct of the street project. So we don't do anything with the street. We do not have to do anything with the sidewalk.
Right.
Correct.
Right.
So if I'm understanding Jeff's question, with that is what's driving us to do this portion of the street?
They did the rest of the street 4 years ago, as you know. If they had just done and resurfaced it then, and it's seal coated and it's held up well. It's got a good crown, but it's starting to come off, and it's nobody's fault. The sweeper goes by with the seal coat after so long, it starts peeling that off, and it's starting, not bad yet. It's not terrible, but it's just, if not now, and with this price, I don't know, like Alan said, we could even think of doing it. But something's going to be done.
Let me throw this out there. It's seal coat now. Would we be able to squeak by if we reseal coated it and just did curb and gutter? Just throwing it out there. Is that considered a major project then with the ADA and that?
I went up there and looked at that street, and there's, I mean, we could probably stretch it out a year, 3 years possibly. I don't know, maybe even 4 or 5, but sooner or later we're going to have to do it. But it still boils down to the one thing that bothers me right now is the cost factor. We've got equipment here that can haul gravel. I don't know what the cost would be. I discussed a little bit here before the meeting with Shane. Those are things we have to look into, but if we can find ways to save some money and still get the project done, I mean, like I said here about 3 meetings ago, we're the heads of our departments are going to have to be really tight with their budgets this year, because I got a feeling that us as a council are going to be saying no quite a bit. And we might as well start right now, starting to think about the expenses that we're gonna be involved in. We've got a lot going on.
That's the thing too, but if you look at that, it's new sidewalks, retaining walls that aren't there, even the Dan's corner across the street. I don't quite understand the one right east of me, ADA compliant, my sidewalk comes up, and then you're 2 steps up, go, are they gonna slope that whole, tear that whole thing? You know, that's running in, that's where, money, not near all of it, but it's all the sidewalks in that part is.
Retaining wall.
you
Well,
know,
there isn't sidewalk currently, John. You go east of you and there isn't sidewalk in front of the house on the corner that was the Remley house, right? There's no sidewalk there on Sycamore.
No, but Jeff, it's the one just east of me that
Yeah.
shows a retaining wall there.
Right, in the middle of the block.
Hmm.
Because there's 2 steps up.
There's 2 steps to go up to there,
Oh, I see.
but I don't know how you tear, I mean, I don't understand, it'd have to be looked into, but that's where, you know, retaining wall there and across the neighbor, Bill Wheeler's, that's got a retaining wall, but you gotta slope the sidewalk so much to make it ADA compliant. And it's just, I think your idea is great, Alan, to cut costs, but a lot of it is, you know, that stuff we can't do, unfortunately.
As you continue to the west on Sycamore Street, is that ADA compliant too, where you enter to go on those?
No, I think
Is it
those would
right?
have to become,
It is in
the
front of-
crossovers would have to become ADA compliant.
I'm just scared. Where does this end? I mean, you know,
Well, Tim, I do have
to-
a question. Is it possible to narrow the street on the north side and not do anything with the south side of the street?
I mean, yeah, I mean, we can, sorry, I'm trying to look at Google Maps here as so you're thinking just maybe, you know, saw cut off 8-10 feet or something, and then just narrow it on the north and leave it where it is on the south?
Yeah, and that would make the street a little bit wider for parking because of the travel, and might solve then the sidewalk issue with ADA compliance on the north side of the street.
Yeah, I mean, so to touch a little bit on the ADA compliance, you know, ADA states that whenever you do any sort of alteration to a pedestrian crossing, so if you end up doing an overlay through a crosswalk, technically you're required to make that ADA compliant, which therefore then it would include the sidewalk ramps. And then I think it was Jeff who mentioned, you know, where do you stop? So you're only required, I mean, there's certain guidelines. I mean, obviously they don't want you to, they understand that you can't replace your entire, I mean, you replace one and then you just it keeps stacking up and stacking up. They only require you, I think it's 15 foot from your landing. So that's where your two ramps meet. 15 foot beyond that is all they require you to make compliant. If you're you know, doing these alterations to the roadway. So that would be where the hard line would stop, right at 15 foot from the landing. So then you wouldn't have to, you know, wouldn't keep stacking up the block or anything like that. But yeah, I mean, I think, you know, I think an option would be you can definitely narrow it on the north side. One thing I would look at would be, you know, do the roadway where they meet, is it going to be, you know, jogging in and out a little bit? But we can certainly line that up better.
Well, I just find that it's really hard to justify spending that kind of money for one block.
I agree.
Yep, no, I understand.
That's why.
I will say sidewalks.
Are
Oh,
there
sorry,
things
go ahead.
Are there things that the city can do to check some of this cost?
Sorry, say it again.
Are there things that the city can do to check some of this cost? And as far as the compliant sidewalks, I can pour a sidewalk, I can elevate, I can figure all that stuff out myself. I mean, why would someone else have to do it if we're capable of doing that and saving ourselves some money?
Yeah, so I mean, a big thing is with the design. I mean, so Cedar Rapids they do a kind of a consultant update every year on some sidewalk design, construction. You know, they do a kind of a summary of the previous year. And one thing that they found, so this is a study done in 2018. They found that total cost of design plus construction of sidewalk ramps per ramp is about $6,000. So if you're looking at, you know, a standard intersection with 8 ramps, I mean, you know, you're looking at $50,000 for design plus construction. Which, I mean, I understand how it seems off. It's just, there is quite a bit of work just with the design, and, you know, contractors have to make sure that they're pouring it, you know, very accurately. I mean, there's not much, I guess, leeway for, I guess, going off of the, you know, what's considered ADA compliant.
Well, and getting to your point, Al, I guess the question I would have is, A, do we have enough staff to really make a dent in this? Because once this project starts, you want to keep it going, and you don't want it to drag out, you know, a lot longer than it needs to. So the question is, do we have personnel, equipment to actually step in and help out on this project and get it done in a timely manner?
That's one of the questions that I'm wondering, and I think we could probably get that answered just by looking into some of this stuff. Talking to the street department, maybe we need to hire a couple part-timers or something for that period of time or something. I don't know. Maybe a subcontractor that would come in to do it for less money. I'm just concerned about the amount of money we're going to spend on one block. It just seems like.
Well,
Totally
I
agree.
think-
Believe me, I'm concerned too, because it's way more than I was expecting.
But the thing of it is, if we could do it and it wasn't compliant with ADA, then we would have to do it over again, and that would add more money. We've got to make sure that it's done correctly first time.
I've done construction, I built the building myself that we work in. It's not that I'm an expert on this, but as far as elevations and sidewalks and things like that, once we know what kind of cement we should use, I mean, there's different grades of cement, what the grade would be, where we would start the grade, what the elevations would be. I understand why we couldn't do something like that ourselves. I'm not saying we have to, but I really would think we need to look a little deeper into this and see if we can find a way to do this for less money. It'll be a tight picture this year, and it's just one of those things that's bothering me is the cost.
Well, I don't think that any of us disagree with you about the cost. But
Way more, like we're way more thought it would be.
I got to tell you, as far as I'm concerned at this point, I'm willing to make a motion to table this thing until we can gather more information and possibly get some estimates on if we just narrowed on the north side and left the south side alone, just to get more information.
if we narrowed it and left the north side, would we have to change the sidewalk then, do you think?
Yeah,
We
Change the
wouldn't.
sidewalk on the north side?
Because you're gonna change
It's-
the elevation.
The
Yeah.
Narrowing
elevation,
to one
it's
side.
the compliance, but yeah.
I just got a question about this, the sidewalk on the north side. One, on the 40-foot, it's 14.5 feet from the roadway. And you're gonna replace that whole sidewalk anyway. Is that to keep the slope there? You have to move it back or keep it that far away from the roadway to be able to put the slope into the crosswalk? I'm asking.
No, that was, so the placement of the sidewalk on that 40-foot was right at the, I think it was, I put it right at the right-of-way line. So the retaining wall will be right at the right-of-way. The 14.5 foot, that gives us a little bit of wiggle room to play with some elevations, but I mean, if we scoot it closer to the roadway, that can give us some space behind the retaining wall as well. So it's kind of splitting hairs which way you want to do it.
Well, let me ask this. So we probably have other streets that we've overlaid in the past, say, 5 years that may or may not be ADA compliant. I mean, is this something that's policed, watched, per se?
I mean, it's not policed until somebody reports it, really.
So it can be reported. Okay, it could be reported on an existing street that's been recently redone too, possibly, right?
Yeah, I think residents could report that type of stuff. Unfortunate as it is, it's just kind of the way it is. The Department of Justice doesn't really find too much leeway, with, if they come out and they measure sidewalks that aren't compliant, they'll make you have and they don't expect you to go through your entire city and change them all in 1 year. One big thing that DA strongly encourages is having a training, and all that is kind of an outline of saying, hey, this year we plan on taking care of block A, B, and C or something like that, to fix these non-compliant sidewalks. Are they going to go around every city and check? No, they're not going to check to see if you have a transition plan or not. That's just something that's outlined in ADA. Which I understand it seems pretty adult, but it's a pretty big thing in the past, probably 10, 15 years. I know Cedar Rapids got hit really hard. They actually had, Department of Justice people come through and audit, the entire city and make them, come up with a plan to replace all the ramps. And I'm not trying to scare you by any means. I'm just, saying how it is.
Well, Tim, I guess I'm trying to play catch up and comprehend here. Would you please clarify, is it your expert opinion that if we went in and just did a resurface of Sycamore, that we have an obligation to bring the sidewalk to ADA compliant?
I think my recommendation would be, yeah, you should plan to, your projects here on out for any alterations, they should be made ADA compliant. I can't really comment the other way. But
Is there any funding out there for this sort of thing, by any chance?
Honestly, not. I don't believe so. Not to my knowledge. Unfortunately, I could check, but I don't think there is.
Okay.
Well, I'm not trying to move this along, but if I heard Rich correctly, he made a motion to table this for additional city review of the project. Is that correct, Rich?
That is it in an essence.
I will second that.
We have a motion by Rich, second by Jeff, to table 7.2, the Sycamore Street project. Any further council discussion on that?
Should we be appointing somebody to, would you be doing it, Beth, or-
We have been doing all of this. Yes.
Okay. Um,
Hey, can you guys speak up?
We will, Rich, yes.
Sorry, Rich. I just asked who would be handling it. Beth said that they've been handling downtown. I just think we need to reach out in different directions here too, and think a little more broadly about what we want to do and who we want to do it,
What we can do.
and what we can do.
Is there any public comment on this? Beth, how about we go ahead and conduct the roll vote based on Rich's motion and second, please.
Crump,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Lockhart,
Yes.
Zumba,
Yes.
Stout,
Yes.
Capron,
Yes.
Motion to table 7.2 for further review carried unanimously. 7.3, update on 151 grade separation project. Again, Tim Wallace with Snyder Associates.
Hello again. So we had in our contract with you guys to, once we hit our $100,000 fee, that we would let you know and look for authorization to keep going forward. And we messaged or I emailed Beth and the mayor a couple weeks ago, letting them know that we did hit that threshold. We got survey completed. We went through some grant, some funding application work. We applied for the RISE grant, which unfortunately we found out that we did not receive. But quite a bit of the work that we have done for, the RISE application will still apply to the remaining funding that we're planning on going after, which is some STBG funds. See, the deadline is December 15th to get that in. And speaking with Mary Rump with ECI COG, she let me know that the city of Anamosa does have 1.3 million slotted to them. It's my understanding from chatting with her was that it's just a matter of applying for the funding and that the city would receive it. So I thought that was very good to hear. But then we'll plan on submitting for that by December 15th. We got the TSIP, which is a safety improvement program that we'll plan on submitting for next year. That'll apply for the roadway work. And then the USTEP funding, we'll plan on applying for that as well. So still some grants that are still out there that we're hoping to apply for and get some funding for the city for that project. I guess some more work that includes under that 100,000 threshold was some roundabout geometry. I got the roundabout established, some horizontal and vertical alignments. We went through some box culvert sizing. That's where we're at. So I guess if there's any other questions for me on the US 151 project, I'm all ears.
Well, Tim, with the $100,000, a lot is being eaten up. What would be your Snyder's recommendation to the city to continue to advance with this project?
I mean, I think, I know the 100,000 this early, it seems like a lot, but I think a lot of the legwork is, a lot of it is upfront. Like, our survey costs, all of that is completed, that's $33,000. So that's kind of why you see a big jump in costs, pretty early on in the project. I do think it's a great project. I would recommend to keep trucking forward with it.
We need to put this on a coming up meeting to approve additional funding to keep this project going.
I would want to know if we have a hard estimate of what the project total is going to be.
As far as like a construction cost or,
Yeah, finished project, what's our all-in number look like at this point? That was kind of where we started. We were kind of in a range that was $4 to $8 million, and we didn't really know where we were landing in there. So I thought this was going to narrow it down so we had more of a cost projection.
okay. Yes, let me,
We kind of need to know the implications for taxpayers and the budget.
Well, and all of the things that have been applied for as far as funding sources are at this point pie in the sky. We don't know whether they'll come through or none of them will be applicable.
yeah, I mean, I apologize. I don't have the number right off the top of my head, but I can definitely get you something by the next council meeting if that's where we want to go with it.
I think so.
Was the only funding you said at this point that's for sure is the Easy Cog funding? Is that what you said?
Yeah, so it'd be the STBG, which is it's a block grant. And yeah, speaking with Mary, that 1.3 sounds like it sounds pretty promising that the city would receive that funding. I do think that we can make a strong case for the TSIP, which is the Traffic Safety Improvement Program, just because of that Old Dubuque Road 151 intersection has had safety issues. I think we can make a pretty strong case to receive funding in that regards.
How much funding would it
But-
be? Word amount.
I think the max you can apply for is 500,000, but I can double check on that and let you know as well.
That would be something else to be nice to know, is if we had a kind of a figure as far as the funding that we would receive on the grants. So
Okay.
we can add, subtract, and divide and find out where we're going to be at.
Okay, so we're looking for a final total project cost, and then some funding.
Yes.
What we think we can get for funding. Okay.
Well, and I'm kind of curious, excuse me, but you've used 100,000 up to this point. Part of that was for grant writing and so forth. If we go forward, what's our cost going to be up until the point of turning dirt or up to the point that we decide where we're going with this project? Because there's still a lot of balls in the air on this thing as we move forward. So can you break down what you're needing stepping forward, like so much for this portion of the project, so much for this portion? You know what I'm saying?
As far as like our phase 1 versus phase 2, or?
Well, yeah, for, your fees, can you break it down that this fee is going to be for continued grant writing or process? Because now, I guess what I'm looking at is, are you coming into us now and saying, we want a contract for a complete project? Because that was
Okay.
part of the reason for just doing the 100,000 was to step into this thing without a full commitment.
Sure.
Lindsay's here too, in case you guys had any questions for me, but I can tell you that there was a complete contract in front of you guys that night. And so there's no change to that. We just agreed to have a pause point at the 100,000 because it was such a big surprise. You know, this project came in hot, I think, to the council at the time that the closure was going to happen. And so in order for everybody to take a breath and get caught up as to where this project was going to go, that was why this pause was built in. But we're not like holding you ransom and we're going to tell you how much more the next phase is or anything. There was always a contract for the complete services that was in front of you that night. And this was just a stopping point built into it to say, is this where we're going next? You know?
Okay, so now you're basically saying if we want to move forward, we got to go with the full contract.
No, I mean, you can tell us to stop if you want to stop, but yeah, I mean, essentially there was always that full contract. It was kind of a, did you want to stop and think about it more or just keep going forward, which we assumed you'd always just keep going forward, but you just needed a pausing point to make sure that you're still happy with the project idea in theory.
So remind us, Lindsay, what's the contract? Is there a price? Was it what Beth was saying, like that 4 to 8 range, depending on funding?
Yeah, that was I do remember that night when Derek and I were both there talking about the difference in project estimates up front. And, you know, as we go through the project, we fine tune those estimates as we uncover, you know, exactly how much dirt is being moved and exactly how long the bridge span is. And there's still been some debate over, you know, the bridge span and if the DOT will come to the table and do something to fix some things on their end, which is a whole bigger story. But yeah, we did talk that night. It was somewhere in the range of 4 to 8. And I always told you, I thought that 8 was hopefully the, you know, whatever that high number was, the worst case scenario, but we're, you know, we always have to think the worst because come 2 years from now, you guys are bidding a project, you need to kind of know how bad it could be. Because construction prices rise and grants don't always come through, but we did find out, you know, the RISE grant was unsuccessful. And it was a kind of a surprise, I think, to everybody at the table there that part of the reason it was unsuccessful is because Anamosa got RISE grant for the industrial park. And I don't think anybody with the city was around back then anymore. I mean, there's all new faces and none of us knew that money happened to that industrial park back when it was built. So that was a surprise. And we think that was the one of the ones that had the biggest risk of not getting funded. So, you know, we feel very promising about the other grants, but these things just take time. So it's kind of that balance of waiting for grant money, but then not waiting to move the project forward. It's kind of, you got to take some risks or not risks at all. And it's kind of up to you guys where you draw that line in the sand, because the grants take time and progress, but you don't get the money without trying to keep moving forward type of, you know, equations. It's kind of a balancing act.
How much potentially was the rise? Up to how much, do you remember?
Tim, you're going to have to chime in. I don't remember that one.
I apologize. I do not have that number in front of me.
I think it was 500,000.
Just wondering how much money we're not potentially going to get, at least for certain.
We can, we can definitely follow up on that as well. I apologize. I do not have that number in front of me at the moment.
I'm hearing what you guys would really like to see, the summary kind of then where, you know, what grants were left on the table still here that we haven't gotten yet and how much they each were worth. And then where, you know, engineering fees look like by the time we get to the letting package for that phase 1 stuff, or maybe over the next few months, what that looks like, how much more there is to progress to get to maybe phase 1, what phase 2 was the additional for that. Because I know we had it broke out in our contract, but I would have to look at it even deeper to give you a fast answer. But because there's even construction services in there. So some of the money in the contract was for construction services, and clearly that's not going to happen yet, even in 2021. It was probably going to be later 2021, we thought, when we were going to bid phase 1. So there's a lot of stuff that's way out there in the future. But we can definitely summarize this all in something more, you know, tangible in a memo if that helps you.
That would be good.
Okay. Yeah, we can definitely do that.
Yeah, I'd like to see, and if there's any potential other grants that you can come up with that maybe we can apply, you know, after 2021 or in 2021 sometime.
You know, and even Dan had brought this up, and I don't know how much it would help. It'd be something to look at, though. There's also, I mean, sewer and water funding available. That it would only be applicable to be the sewer and water piping, but those utilities were included in these projects. So if there's any thought that you'd want loan money or even look at grant money for those portions, it's a thought. I mean, if you really wanted to stretch every funding avenue you could consider, those are options.
Well, I think we need to for the size of this project, we need everything we can get.
Yeah.
Yep, and that
Especially-
stuff, we can definitely apply for that stuff, but when it comes to like the water and sewer, we have to have a little bit better handle on it. So that would be, again, something next year. You'd have to wait until you have the actual sizing and the locations of them to give that to the DNR.
Okay.
Yeah, especially with potential subdivisions out in that area down the line.
Yeah, but we just need to exhaust every funding source we can exhaust.
I agree.
So Lindsay and Tim, when do you think you could put a summary together or another proposal type view that we can view? You're talking 2 weeks, you need a month?
No,
I think the next
I think we
meeting.
can, yeah, I think we can definitely get one out for you you guys meet on the, let's see, is it the 14th?
Yes, we'll
Is
need
that
it
right?
for 14.
Yeah, I don't think we'll have any issue getting it to you by then.
Okay. Well, there is no, as I read about, no action on the way 7.3 is written. It was just an update for informational purposes. So Lindsay and Tim, you'll put together that summary, come back before the council. Would you just please reach out to Beth ahead of time if the 14th will work, or if you're gonna need more time, we'll accommodate. But if we're gonna put it on the next agenda, I would really appreciate that summary be completed and presented.
It'd be nice if we could
Yeah.
have it before, so we could look at it before the meeting.
Agreed. Well, I would hope it would be part of our package, yes.
Yep, absolutely.
We'll have it to Beth by the 10th or 9th.
Is there any other questions for Tim and Lindsay with Snyder on the 151 project? If not, Lindsay and Tim, thank you for taking time out tonight to join us and present and answer some of our questions.
Yeah, not a problem. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Move on to 8.0 new business. 8.1 discussion of possible action on sign request for the VFW.
Move to approve.
Second,
Motion by Rich and second by Kay to approve the sign request for the VFW. I guess I just have one question. Will it go on the current support structure? Or are they looking to install, a new post, a new base? Do we know?
Becky's on. If you want to unmute Becky, Rebecca.
Hi,
Hi, I'm here. No, we would actually mount it on the posts that are already along that roadway.
Okay.
So Becky, what were you thinking on the left sign underneath like the Iowa Earth Year or underneath the Legion? There's two posts right now on the left and right.
I would prefer like underneath like the Iowa Earth one. And there's
Okay.
actually another sign just down from that doesn't have anything else on it
Oh,
other than the I think it's like no parking. But it's similar to the exact way that the Legion is on. And there's actually one on each end of town, one on Third Street as you're coming in, and the other over just after you cross the bridge coming in from past the park.
Okay. Are
And
you
what
guys-
I'll do is I would deliver we have the signs, they're already made, they're street ready, and I would just deliver them to either City Hall or the street department, whichever you prefer.
Let's take them to the street department maybe, since it's right down by there and they'll be doing it.
Yeah,
Okay.
Shane's there. He can give you a call or something, or you can give City Hall a call to get a hold of him.
Okay, I can do that.
All right, well, if there's no more questions for Becky or on this subject, it's a slight technicality, we still need to approve it. We have a motion by Rich and a second by Kay to approve this request. No further discussion, I'll that conduct a roll vote.
Zumba,
Yes.
Stout,
Yes.
Capron,
Yes.
Lockhart,
Yes.
Smith.
Yes.
Crump,
Yes,
Motion to approve for the signage, carried unanimous.
Thank you very much.
Becky, you deal with City Hall. We'll coordinate with the department to get that done.
All right, I'll do that. Thank you.
8.2, possible action on quarry lease request.
so Beth?
Yeah.
You had mentioned something about looking into some options on this.
Yeah, so Shane and I talked about it. They've actually gotten to where they don't really have anything out at the quarry any longer. So we thought about, Shelley has said she has some park space out near there that we could use for the mulching and the brush pile. So I don't think it should be any big issue just to have it in town. I have looked into how much it is to get a grinder in. So Monticello, they did a contract for so much grinding per year. We can probably just do it on an as needed basis. We tried to get a hold of him today, but Shane wasn't able to get a call back yet. And I also put a couple of feelers out for places that do their own grinding, like what equipment they use, how their experience has been with the equipment. Would they prefer a different equipment if they had a choice now? So we're gonna kind of look at if we buy our own equipment for grinding or if we, contract it out.
Years ago, did we just grind down there and make great big mulch piles? Does anybody else remember that? I
No.
vaguely remember it, but
Yeah.
The only thing was piled there is if somebody did for the city, took trees down.
okay.
But we had a small chipper, but it
Okay.
worked what we used up to what, 6, 8 inch gallon, something like that. We did some, but not big ones.
Okay, so like with this storm we had this couple months ago in August, did we haul stuff out there then or how'd that work?
We hauled it to the quarry and burned it.
But we also have to consider that the DNR is probably soon gonna say no more burning.
Correct. So at that point, it's either composting or chipping it anyway.
Yes. I think we need to be proactive.
You mean just right on site where instead of moving it all around, just
Yeah.
whatever goes there stays there and either gets chipped or composted. If it's grass, composted. If it's brush, chip it, that sort of thing.
Cut and split.
Right.
You fire
And
with-
some people come and get the bigger
Yeah,
ones.
they
do.
anyway.
Yeah.
So,
What was down at the brush pile, the bigger stuff, a lot of people have been down there cutting it up.
Sure. Sure they do.
I know of at least 3 people have been down there.
Yeah, we could almost have 3 spots: grass and leaves, brush, and then the big stuff that if someone wanted to come along that burns, make a separate area.
Yeah.
The other, Beth, what did you say about one of the parks? are you talking about where we put it right now, or what did you guys mean on that?
So where it's located right now, actually, that's that Alliant property.
Yep.
And I think that's where Dan is locating his overflow tank.
Yeah.
So we
Yes.
probably don't think that area anymore, but Shelley did talk about over across near the ball diamond, there's a pretty large area there that's not anything that we could use that area.
When you say
No
ball
more-
diamond, are you talking baseball or softball?
Oh, I don't know.
I'm just trying to get a picture in my head, and I can't think of what we're talking about.
Well, the only thing I can think of is by the baseball field towards the east, there might be that section, you know, there's that road that wraps around on the backside. Maybe that's what she's referring to.
Yeah, we haven't looked into it too far. We kind of wanted to see what we could find for grinding, like how much it was gonna
Yeah.
cost, that kind of stuff.
And the other, sorry, Beth.
There you go.
Well, the only other thing that came to mind was, I know years ago it was used, but there's that piece of property that Daryl Geltz has owned for years that I think it's chained off, but it's so low in there. They always wanted filling stuff in there. It's just up north of Rimley Woods. If, you know, people up in that area, I don't know what his thoughts are, but I know for a long time we took stuff in there, and just because it's so low in there.
Yeah, but I don't know that he wants brush in there. I think he probably wants the concrete and
I
the dirt.
see. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
because the brush isn't gonna help him on that.
Okay.
A while back, that he really didn't want anything. It was
Yeah.
enough. I don't know if that's changed, but that's what I heard one time.
That's pretty cool.
He said that was enough.
Yeah, I think he's done with that part.
Well, maybe back on that road wrapping behind what used to be the high school baseball field, you probably want to put a sign out by the road, you know, especially with it being a new place, but.
So I decided to come to the meeting tonight. I'm
Which
Shane
one's
Brown.
your name,
Shane Brown, street runner.
Jim?
So we had the trees we burnt from the derecho. We had to get rid of that ash anyway. And so I did get a hold of, Daryl and, down there at Home Decorating. That's where I hauled all the ash. I had 62 loads of ash. Currently, we have probably 10 more loads out at the quarry, what we burned the other day. So we're gonna have to get it cooled out, and then we're gonna haul that to Daryl. And then I don't know if he's gonna allow us to haul any more there. So it was really tough to find somebody that would take the ash. I called about 10 people. They don't want it. Nobody wants it. Because it gets into horse people, it gets into hooves and could kill a horse. So that option was out, but then Daryl was nice enough to let me, I got a hold of Daryl. He was nice enough to take it. But we're just running out of options on that. I can get rid of the mulch, to farmers. We just mulched out in front of, the library here. And it looks pretty nice. I know Shelley and I are gonna use the mulch next year on quite a bit of the parks and through the cemetery. And just around town. I mean, I know it's not colored, but it's free. Right now we only have about 2 loads of stuff to bring in from the quarry yet that is salvageable. The rest of it got hauled off. There were some old light poles that had pins in it. We just took them to the junk. I mean, we got money for it. We gave them check to Beth, but it was stuff like that we don't need, we don't use. There were street lights out there when they did the streetscape. We've hauled all those to town. They're still currently on a trailer, but they were sitting outside out there. They just will be sitting outside where we can see them if we need parts. So The only thing that's left out at the quarry, like I said, is about 2 loads of stuff, minus the load of ash we're gonna have to haul to town, and maybe we hauled some leaves out there to make, compost, but I think we could bring those back to town. We started another compost pile in the cemetery down by our black dirt, by the red shed. Off in the way, so we can roll it and do what we need to do. And we don't have to get a key to get in there to roll it. So it's up to you guys. I mean, I'm good with going out there, but then are we stuck in a contract that if the DNR would come in and shut us down from burning, we're out $4,800. I would rather see maybe spending that $4,800 on chipping it, and it's more green, we're gonna go more green anyway. So it's entirely up to you guys. I mean, I'm very flexible. We'll do whatever you wanna do. Like I said, we're gonna get our stuff out of there anyway. So it just seems like it was an overflow, but we're brought it back to town, so we actually know we have it, so we can use it. And so that's what we've done.
Shane, hypothetically, I hope this never, ever happens, but if we were to have a bad storm like we'd had, would we be able to do it without the quarry as far as people in town bringing stuff or trucks going around? If we had a spot, you think we could make do?
I think so, because, found out about this later, that the DOT actually was gonna bring in a chipper for free after the derecho to, help us mulch the stuff, and we never took advantage of it. And, that kind of concerned me, quite a bit, actually. And they would haul the mulch away for us for free.
Wow.
So we really didn't help ourselves by not taking their services. So now they're going to be looking at us a lot harder on why aren't we still doing what we're doing?
Yeah, $4,800 a year for rent. A couple of years of rent is we're talking $9,000. That's by pretty nasty chipper.
Right. And we're gonna look into some things. Maybe we can buy it. Maybe we can go in with another town that can't afford to exhume this much money, or what it's gonna cost us. I have no idea yet. But we're gonna look into it. I'm also gonna look into people coming down and, putting it into their chipper for now, if we have to.
You get into a big chipper, they're very expensive.
Imagine.
Galen, could you repeat that?
I said, you get into a big chipper, they're very expensive. I'm talking the big drum truck chippers that they have,
Probably for livestock, it's like that kind of stuff, it's big, it's probably on a semi.
Yeah, Rachi has one and it's several $100,000.
Well, Shane, on
Yeah.
a normal year, how many times would you expect to chip?
Probably 5.
Okay,
Generally speaking, the chipper we would need wouldn't have to be that big, because a lot of the stuff people like to get firewood, as long as people start realizing that we're setting off to the side wood that can be used for firewood, they're gonna be down hauling that off. So all we gotta do is worry about getting the chipper big enough to take care of the smaller stuff. I don't know, 6 inches and down, 5 inches and down,
No, you're probably still looking at 9 to 10.
maybe 9 to 10 inches, yeah.
But we just started doing that too. We felt like, there was no sense of us, trying to burn that.
No.
And you don't get it all burned anyway, after, when it's still wet.
Years ago, they used to leave it down there and let people have it.
Well, that's what we're doing now. So as long as you keep telling people, we'll keep doing it.
I keep telling you.
well, it really sounds to me like if we could afford a smaller chipper and take from about 9 inches down, we could chip that ourselves. The big stuff set off to the side. Somebody may cut that up for firewood anyway. And then if we do hit that big peak, we may have to bring somebody else in to help, but we could get by. It's just making sure we've got the place to store it until we start chipping.
Yeah,
So Shane, is it your recommendation to the council to cease the current lease agreement with Norland Ford?
I do,
That is your recommendation.
yes.
Well, what's that?
Shane acknowledged that it is his recommendation to cease with the use of the quarry, the Northern Quarry.
Well, I'll make the motion to terminate the contract.
I'll second that.
I'll second that. Are we paid through November or where are we at?
Through December.
Paid-
First of the year.
Yeah. so
Okay.
Jan-
Okay.
And I see we've got to give 60 days notice. So
Oh, okay.
We're gonna have to pay through January, it sounds like.
yeah,
Well,
because at least what I was reading in the contract, I'm pretty sure it said 6, yeah. Either party may terminate the agreement with a 60-day notice.
Well, I'd contact him tomorrow.
I think you'll be able to work with the Norlands.
Yeah.
So as the agenda item is, it is what we will do or what we wish to do with the quarry lease. I have a motion by Rich and second by Alan that at the end of this year, we will no longer need that service. Is there any other council discussion on the agenda item as it states?
Well, I'm going to correct you a little bit on that, Rod.
Okay.
Because the motion was to terminate the lease and you said by the end of this year, but it does say we've got to give him 60 days notice. So that will take us into 2021.
Yes, thanks, Rich.
So he'll be paid for December and January.
Correct. For most of January, unless he wants it for the whole month.
Basically, we can only have a few days though to get it cleaned out because once things freeze up, we don't want to leave a mess in there. So these nice
Well-
days to take advantage and clean it up.
Well, it sounds like most of the stuff is out of there now, so.
Okay.
Well, okay,
It's pretty empty. I've just got a little ash to cool out. And then I've got 2 loads with the trailer to haul out. The rest of it's already moved to town. And then some leaves, I can get them back to town. That's not gonna hinder us too much. I mean, I can do it next week, but
It sounds to me like you got a plan. Is there any public comment on this? I'll take that as a no. Again, we have a motion by Rich, second by Alan to cease with contract for the board. Beth, will you conduct a roll vote?
Smith,
yeah.
Lockhart,
Yes.
Capron,
Yes.
Zumba,
Yes.
Stout,
Yes.
Crump,
yes.
Motion to cease the lease carried unanimously. 8.3, discussion and possible action on the request for pickup parking for downtown business. Leanna Boone, Anamosa Chamber.
I had a request from a couple businesses.
Leanna, you're going to need to speak a lot louder than that.
I had a request from a couple businesses, for some parking spots for just some curbside pickup. Just because of the way it is now, some of them are closed down. They're only open certain hours, they're open reduced hours, they do curbside.
Leanna, can you speak up, please?
or maybe just come up closer to this. I don't think that microphone works at all.
So some of the businesses are just doing strictly curbside pickup or shopping at certain hours. And they just had a request for maybe a couple hour block at a time, just to have a parking spot marked just for curbside pickup. I saw that they're doing it in Cedar Rapids and some other towns. The businesses could get their own signs, maybe just use a couple of cones or just a couple hour block at a time. One of the businesses, their days and hours would vary. Another requested from 3 to 6, Wednesday through Friday. Those are the only two that I have right now that have requested it. There may be more, I'm just not sure at this point.
Makes sense to me.
It's just something we can do to help.
It's a courteous thing
Yeah.
to offer.
Well, I'll tell you, I like the idea. Who are the businesses that have requested it?
The one that came to me is Spark, and then the other one would be Clever Feather.
Well, I do like the idea, at least through this pandemic and everything. And I'm assuming that's all this would be, once the pandemic's over, the curbside pickup would come back as another topic or would go away. What are they thinking on that?
Right, it's just through this, because nobody really knows what's gonna happen. If it's gonna get worse through the next few months, or if it's gonna get, well, hopefully better, but we just don't know. And it's just kind of a courtesy to their customers. They've had to make a lot of concessions to stay in business and do what they're doing.
Yeah.
Is it something that could be just commonly used by any business downtown? I mean, if you're running in to pick up takeout food, or I mean, if it's open and it's strictly for the purpose of, put a time limit, like less than 15 minutes or something like that, or for pickup only, whatever.
I think they could probably work together. I think though, maybe if some of them specifically told their customers, to come at a certain time, they would expect that spot to be open for them. I don't think it's gonna be a huge deal or a whole lot of spots taken. Like, the vendor village, I did talk to her and we talked about it, but then they also have, pretty easy alley access. So at this time, they're not requesting a spot.
So
And I understand.
or do we approve two, and then as somebody else says, oh, that's a great idea, do they need to come and, I mean, we're not doing a blanket for every business to do it at this stage, are we? Or what do you think on this?
Handle it kind of like the parklets, like we could say up to whatever, how many in a date that they stop. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm just trying to figure out, because I could see this being a big thing for anybody that serves food right now, to be able to have that ability.
I don't think it's gonna be a huge request. I mean, we had 5
Yeah,
parklets.
that's kind of my thought too. I really think we should do anything we can to help the businesses right now. It's hard enough on them as it is, and we want to keep everybody in town.
No reason why this can't share.
And I'm more,
Alan and Galen, we couldn't hear that.
and I'm more than willing to drive a half a block down to park to go someplace if they need a spot to do curbside pickup for a few hours. I don't have a problem.
I will move to act on doing curbside pickup. Couple of, or 3, how many, Leanne? 2 to start?
We do 3.
Sure, 3.
In case.
Okay, 3.
I'll second that.
Motion by Kay, second by Alan. So the 2 businesses that you had mentioned is Spark and Clever
The
Feather.
Feather.
Are they looking for parking spots immediate to the front of their businesses?
Spark would like one. Clever Feather, I think they would be willing either, they have a front and a side door. So I think they would be willing to have either one, really.
You had mentioned that this is currently being done in the city of Cedar Rapids. Have you reached out to anybody over there for details, what some pros, cons, I guess more so the cons that they're seeing?
I haven't,
How
I
they
just,
navigated?
I just saw the signs when I was driving through the back of the mall. They just have, like real estate type signs set up and then, a designated spot. They have theirs all the time. We're not, we wouldn't do that. These could be taken down, certain times, and it would be the responsibility of the business
Of
to
businesses.
take those down.
Well, and if the business isn't open, they might share their sign with somebody that is open.
Well, I think it's a great idea.
I guess just another question that I would have is, if we allocate these parking spots, just, 3 to 6, Monday through Friday, whatever this council decides. Chief, is there a way you could put some teeth into this if we feel it's being abused by non-pickup?
That was one of my first concerns, I guess, is this would be very similar, I think, to signs like in the Walmart parking lot that are designated for fire, EMS, military personnel, where we would have no authority to enforce it unless there was something in the ordinances that would allow us to do that. So I'm not exactly sure if we could just amend one of the ordinance to include these special types of circumstances, or if it would fall under a simple parking ordinance already on the books, such as parking contrary to signs or markings type of thing.
And, it may be something that we don't even ever have to address because people can respect what they are designated for. Just thought I would generate that conversation up front, in case we have to attempt to flex a muscle.
I would think if chief, if you're one of your boys or somebody noticed that was being abused, if it was brought to the council's attention, we could probably come up with a remedy for it without upsetting too many people. We're doing this as a courtesy, and I would hope that they would respect that in the same manner that we're doing it. So, I guess it's just, we'll just have to find out.
We'll call it a pilot program. So, Kay, you made the motion, and I know Leanne had talked to possibly 3 locations. It might be advantageous or wise to identify those up front.
Well, I wasn't thinking, because Sparks wants it from 3 to 6, but Grounds and Goodies might want it during the noontime when people are picking up food. So I think we don't need, it would seem to me that we don't need to specify which business is going to use what type of thing. Clever Feather might use it for pickup in the afternoon. T&D might use it for food pickup in the evening. So I would think there ought to be a lot of mixture and interchange. It's just marking the spots as temporary pickup between certain hours.
So you don't think we would need to identify that parking spot location?
Well, Sparks asked for it to be in front of their business.
Yes, that's what I heard.
But I thought if you put cones there, I don't know whether it needs to be specified or not.
Can we just make it I would say a set time limit, 15, 20 minutes, whatever maximum. And then that spot is designated pickup for that amount of time and from this hour to this hour. Outside those hours, it can be used like normal. Just kind of like on Main Street, no parking more than 2 hours or something like that. Like we already have during these hours.
People like coming to pick up their order, they'll call or text the business saying, hey, I'm here, they'll run it out to them. That's it.
My thought was to make this detailed up front, so there's no backside issues that we need to try to resolve. So.
I mean, if you made it make it 15-minute pickup parking only and make it, I don't know, what's the earliest any business is open and what's the latest any business closes. And outside of those hours, it's normal parking. I don't know.
And are you talking about making it so that it's just, say we have one on the north side of the street, one on the south side of the street, and it's generic for all businesses?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying these three spots are for 15-minute parking, pickup parking only from, I don't know, I'll throw out 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. That covers your early grounds and goodies to your late people getting food at night, anything in between. Something like
And then
that.
it's generic for everybody. Everybody every business has the opportunity to take advantage of it.
All right. So, okay, I'm going to ask you to restate your motion for clarification.
I suggest that we have pickup parking, one spot at least on the south side of the street and one spot on the north side of the street. That will be limited to 15-minute pickup parking beginning at 7 in the morning and ending at 9 at night. And if we find a need for a third space, we'll look at that later.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Is there any further discussion from the council?
So who seconded that?
The motion was by Kay and second by Alan.
So is Al going to second her re-amended motion?
I will second it again.
Is there any public comment? Beth?
Crump,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Capron,
Yes.
Stout,
Yes.
Lockhart,
Yes.
Zumba.
Yes.
Motion for the parking request carried unanimous. 8.4, discussion and possible action for temporary ice rink, Boone, Anamosa Chamber.
So I got a call last week asking if we could try to have a temporary ice rink somewhere in town. I thought it was a good idea. I really don't know anything about it. So I called Beth, and I think you had mentioned that you were involved in a couple towns or something that had done it. I found out later that Shelley from Parks and Rec had already been kind of working on this project. So I think she's done some research and has a start on it. I still think it's a good idea, and we'd like to work with her. It's just a matter of finding a spot, and I think there's some more research that has to be done. There's different ways. I mean, there's DIY ways to do it. There's rentals available. I watched the video before I came about some guy doing it in his backyard. I mean, just depends on how elaborate you want to go. So that's all I got.
And I did, I emailed someone that used to set them up in another city. And they usually buy, so the liners are about $2,000. They last 2 to 3 years usually, but they do get damaged pretty easily because it's frozen and they're usually a plastic product. So usually, we would order the liners larger so that you could cut off the damaged edges and still use it for 3 years. But she gave me the contact information for who they were getting them from now. They do say it's a lot of work to unroll it and to get it in place. And then the issue is a lot of times, since it's not very deep, it thaws fairly easily. So a lot of times the sun will thaw the top and it gets a little slushy, and it'll kind of get rutted until it gets warm enough to smooth it again. But yeah, otherwise it's, the frames were built just out of regular 2x4, 2x6. And then the liners, what she purchased mainly.
Nobody skates down to, okay, so if you're going to the cemetery, there's an area that, right when you drive in the cemetery, the people skate on. That's
They
not,
used to, I haven't seen.
that's not something that's viable to be used for this project, you think?
I don't know.
I don't think they can get to that spot anymore, Kay. It's pretty nasty down there since.
Yeah. And with that being on the river, I'm not sure it's 100% safe all the time. But you know, at the swimming pool, they used to use the tennis courts. They would sandbag around the outer edge, and then the fire department would flood the tennis courts at the swimming pool.
That's what North Liberty does. Theirs is on their tennis court, I believe. You know, the person that called me said they used to do it in Center Junction, and they use some, a roll of thick plastic and some railroad ties. So I don't know. I don't know that much about it, but.
We'll continue to investigate along with Shelley and see what happens. Do you want a motion?
Right, don't need
Well,
to-
I think it might be best to have the details.
So,
I mean, I just, 3 notations I made: location, liability, and
sure.
I did check with Jackie about insurance for if we have to change any insurance if we put it in one of the parks. She didn't have an answer for me yet today.
So we just need more information.
yeah, and granted, we probably don't have to worry about an ice skating rink in the next week or 2, but we are sitting middle to latter November, and, you know, the weather could change, you know, soon. So we don't have to react now, but it needs to be more just a blip on the radar if we are going to promote this for the city state. Leanne, I don't know if you're going to continue to
Yeah.
kind of quarterback this with City Hall, Shelley Parks, or?
Yeah, we can talk with Shelley, and she'll be able to have some more information by the next meeting.
I guess with that, and Kay, I would like a motion to table this until the details can be brought to us.
Okay, I make a motion that we table the ice rink possibilities until we have more information.
Second.
Motion by Kay, second by John. For the council discussion. Public comment. Beth, would you conduct roll call?
Brooke,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Lockhart,
Yes.
Zumba,
Yes.
Stout,
Yes.
Capron.
Yes.
Motion to table carried unanimous. Thank you, Leanna. Oh, I see you're not quite done yet. Request for street closure for parade lights, Leanna Boone, Anamosa Chamber.
So we don't really need a street closure. It's just, the parade of lights. It's just pretty simple. Goes from the LCC to the up and down bank. It's usually led by a police car or a fire truck. Both. We went back and forth on whether we should still have it this year. A few days ago, it was still gonna be no, but I did reach out to public health. She said she thought that we could still do it safely. Put a few guidelines out there.
We have not advertised it heavily. I don't think there's gonna be a lot of participation, but I think it will be something that people look forward to. And, you know, the side-by-side group will probably do it. They enjoyed it last year and we'd like to do it again. Tell everybody you see, because I had heard it was gonna be, no, we're not gonna have a parade of lights. Well, that's kind of what we were telling people, and then, I did answer a few questions the other day, there's some Facebook posts, and I said, we're gonna try to have it again. So we'll put it out there tomorrow if it's. Maybe we can get it on the library marquee and on the LCC one, so. Move to approve.
Second.
Motion by Kay, second by John to support the parade of the lights. There is no street closure necessary per Leanna. Further discussion? Public comment? Beth?
Lockhart,
Yes.
Zumba,
Yes.
Stout,
Yes.
Capron,
Yes.
Crump,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Motion to support the parade of lights carried unanimous. Leanne, I know it's part of your position, but thank you for your diligence, your passion in bringing items like this before the council for review. It fosters a sense of community, and I very much appreciate your involvement with that. 8.6, discussion of possible action on additional ADA parking on the north side of Main Street near Tyler and Downey. Shane Brown, acting street superintendent.
Shane Brown here again tonight. So it's been brought to my attention a couple times since I've taken this spot for this to be fixed, or at least for you guys to think about for this next year or whenever. Right now, we have a handicap parking on the north side by T&D. But there's no way for the handicap to get to the sidewalk in a wheelchair without going clear down to either end. I'm not wondering if it wasn't supposed to be on streetscapes back in the 90s, right?
Early 2000.
Okay.
Yeah.
So somewhere in there, because I was pretty young yet. Still are, yes, but, so what we want to potentially do is to take a site or a crossing across from Clever Feather, which is Dearborn's address, on that corner there, from Booth over to T&E. And then move the handicap parking spot down just a little bit. Where the handicap parking spot is now, could be moved to the west. Most of the parking spots are 27 feet. The one in front of the handicap parking is like 18. So we would have that room to move the handicap down, to put in the crosswalk. If that's what you guys want to do. But it has been that we don't have ADA there. We need to probably be thinking about an ADA ramp of some sort. If you're gonna have, handicap parking there, we gotta probably need to get something in line so they can get a wheelchair up and over the curb.
Do you have any idea on the cost?
I was just gonna cut out the curb and re-cement it. How you like that?
Sounds like a plan to me.
Couple $100.
Don't
Larry, where do you want to start?
you still have to have the traction deal or whatever?
See, I'm not real sure on that. I'm gonna call a couple people this next week. We've been pretty busy, trying to get stumps filled and cleaned out and filled. And I kind of put this on the back burner for that, because I didn't figure we'd get it done yet this year anyway. But we wanted to bring it to your attention that we need to do something.
Hey Shane,
We're not getting any younger, none of us.
hey Shane, just to clarify, so if you come, so I'm just overhead right now. If you were to cross a straight line north from where that brick corner is at the Clever Feather and walk straight north, it's like T&D or the art gallery. You're talking about where is the current parking spot? It remind me, is it west or east of T&D?
So it's, the parking spot for the handicap now is right in front of T&D.
Directly right in front of T&D it is.
Yep, but this would probably come out right there by Grant Wood.
Okay.
Right where Grant Wood is now.
So you're gonna leave the handicap parking space and just to the east of that, cut out the curb so you can cross right over behind the parking spot, the handicap parking spot. Is that what you're saying?
Well, kind of. So what we want to really do is we want to move the handicap parking down to the west towards the west side of T&D, because the parking spot directly to the west of the handicap one is smaller. It's not it's like made for 2 motorcycles, what I would call it, maybe 3 motorcycles. And then we would have that room to take this across and not even bother with the parking spot that would be to the west of T&D, or to the T&D. I'm sorry, standing the wrong direction.
Yeah.
But I think the parking spot right in front of Grant Wood would stay. We would just need to move the handicap one to the west.
So would we be losing one parking spot downtown?
So you'd be losing a small one, yes, to a walk, to a cross, what is it, about an 8-foot crosswalk?
Okay.
So you'd be making the handicap one just a little bit bigger to the west, but you're gaining a spot for a wheelchair.
To answer Rich's question, we would lose.
Yeah, we'll
one
lose.
downtown parking spot.
We will lose the small downtown parking that is there.
Okay.
It's like I said, however they came out with the dimensions that they painted it, I have no idea. We just have been down there and we have checked the paint marks all along there, and they're all 27 feet, except for that one that is right to the west of that handicap. And I want to say it's like 18. And everything else is 27. So, I mean, I can take, if you want to meet me down there, we can discuss it on site someday, if that's what you want to do too.
Well, I understand what you're saying, and I like your thought process on that. So
Is
do
there
you
any
want
way,
to gather more cost information and bring it back to us and find out for sure what you have to do to make that ADA compliant? Because I like your idea and I like your thought process.
Well, I'll get more information, I'll bring it back to you. Maybe I can get it out there for the next meeting.
You don't think
Because
this project,
I want to make sure that when you do this, you do it so it does fit into the compliancy. So you do it and then we don't have to redo it again.
Right, and I don't want that. Money is on the table here, and I'll save as much as possible.
And I appreciate that.
But I want to get something done so that way we don't have a problem down the road too.
Yes.
I agree. So Shane, would it be possible for you to look into this to see what the ADA requirements are for what you're proposing? Provide us with an illustration showing where the new parking spot would be, where your ramp would lay is cut out into the current sidewalk, where the crosswalk would be going from north side to south side. And project costs, like Richard mentioned. Again, it's not something that you feel you can get to yet this year. So we do have a little bit of time. I'm in agreement with you. If we're gonna do this, let's do it right. But there's details that I think the council should have in front of them before they venture into an approval.
The only reason I'm pushing this for next spring is because pouring cement now, tearing some out, pouring it back, it's getting cold. And we're gonna lose these warm days. That's why we're working and trying to get as much done as we can on site right now. But if I can push this on to like first spring, April, May, when the ground's warming up again, and then we'd have a pretty good idea of how much cement we gotta cut out.
Well, if we're gonna have ragbri, we wanna try to get it done.
Right. Yep, and we got a lot of stuff coming up this next year.
So what I'm saying is, don't rush the proposal to the council.
Okay,
Make sure we get all the i's dotted and t's crossed. So we don't have to revisit or
Right.
redo.
right, okay, sounds good.
That's just my
No,
suggestion.
And that's fun,
The council needs to give the direction.
right. So there it is in a nutshell.
Well, I'm gonna make a motion to table this until Shane brings back more information and until then, do a good job, Shane.
Thank you.
I'll second.
We have a motion by Rich, second by Galen, to table this until Shane can put a more solidified proposal together. And at that time, he will bring it back to council. Any further discussion? Any public comment? Beth?
Capron,
Yes.
Stout,
Yes.
Zumba,
Yes.
Lockhart,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes,
Crump,
Yes.
Motion to table carried unanimous. 8.7, resolution setting the date for public hearing and additional action on proposal to enter into general obligation corporate purpose loan agreements. Is the council looking to discuss the items within this?
I'll make a motion to set the public hearing for December 14th, 2020 at the Anamosa Library at 6:00 PM.
second,
Motion by Rich, second by Kay to set the public hearing December 14th, 2020, 6 PM, Anamosa Library Center. Is there any further council discussion regarding just setting the public hearing? If not, Beth, would you conduct a roll vote?
Lockhart,
Yes.
Zumba,
Yes.
Smith,
yes,
Crump,
Yes.
Stout,
Yes.
Capron,
Yes.
Motion to set the public hearing carried unanimous. 8.8, resolution setting the date of December 14th, 2020, 6 PM for a meeting at which it is proposed to approve a development agreement with Blue Track Inc., including annual appropriation tax and increment.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion by Rich, second by Jeff. Further discussion? for that? Conduct the roll call, please.
Stout,
Yes.
Lockhart,
Yes.
Crump,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes,
Capron,
Yes.
Zumba,
Yes.
Motion to set that date, public hearing date, carried unanimous. 8.9, resolution setting the date of December 14, 2020 at 6 p.m. for a meeting at which it is proposed to approve a development agreement with Steel Tech Limited, including annual appropriation tax increment payments.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion by Rich, second by Alan. Further council discussion? Beth, please.
Smith,
yes,
Lockhart,
Yes.
Zumba,
Yes.
Stout,
Yes.
Capron,
Yes.
Crump,
Yes.
Motion to set that date for public hearing, carried unanimous. Resolution approving city administrator contract.
Move to approve.
approve,
Second.
Motion by Kay, second by Alan. As I have mentioned through this, I would very much like to see the council conduct the process or go through the process to find the best candidates. Not saying that Beth isn't one of them, but not knowing who else may be interested, I think is a disservice to the community. Any further discussion from the council on this? Any public comment? Beth, would you conduct the roll call?
Crump,
Yes.
Smith,
yes,
Lockhart,
Yes.
Zumba,
Yes.
Stout,
Yes.
Capron,
Yes.
Motion to accept or approve Beth Brace as the city administrator and the contract thereof submitted, carried unanimous.
Can I say something here at this point?
Sure.
I would like Beth to formulate a plan moving forward on her replacement as city clerk.
Can we give that direction, Beth? I mean, I would think that you would just start that, but
yeah, I have, some things in the works, so,
Okay,
Yeah.
well, present it to us at the next meeting then, please.
yep, will do.
8.11, resolution approving the hiring and salary for a part-time patrol officer.
move to approve,
Second.
Motion by Kay, second by John to accept or to approve the hiring and set salary for part-time patrol officer as submitted to the council. Further discussion? Public comment? That please conduct a roll call.
Lockhart,
Yes.
Zumba,
Yes.
Capron,
Yes.
Crump,
Yes.
Smith,
yes,
Stout,
Motion to hire part-time and salary approved, carried unanimously. Chief White, please welcome the individual to the Anamosa team on our behalf. 8.12, discussion of possible action on posting for street superintendent position.
I would like to see it posted on City Hall door only.
So is that a motion, Kay?
Sure.
All right, I'll second it.
Motion by Kay, second by Rich to post on City Hall door for filling of street superintendent position. This is an upper level management position within that department. Again, I'm all about promoting within. I believe that's where you should look. But with this being that higher level management position, I certainly think we should advertise in a broader spectrum than City Hall.
Will we be opposed to posting it in the local paper?
Let me ask you this, when the water department and wastewater department heads were appointed, where were they? Was it advertised any place? Or were they just promoted from within? And
I do not know.
I'm pretty sure, no, I could be wrong, but they were promoted from within.
Jim's on the phone, you could ask him.
Rebecca, could you unmute Jim Henson, please? There's a question from the council.
Hello, everybody. How are you?
Hey, good evening, Jim. Thanks for tuning in tonight. I'm sure you've been following along. And
Yes, sir.
the questions that has just arose by council regarding upper management positions within departments. So just to recap, that question is, when you were put in the position, could you give the council an idea of, or let us know how that they went and filled the position?
Yes, we were appointed in a council meeting, and I am not aware of any posting of our positions other than us being appointed.
Thank you, Jim.
Yes, sir.
So we do have the motion to post on City Hall door
Only.
only, yes. Jeff has shown interest to put it in the paper, but the motion on the floor is City Hall door only at this time. So is there any further council discussion? Any public comment? I'm going to ask for a roll vote on posting this position only on City Hall door as the motion has been made.
Was there a second?
There was a second. Kay, you obviously made the motion and Rich second.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. So Beth, based on the motion, would you conduct a roll call?
Crump,
yes,
Lockhart,
Yes.
Zumba,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes,
Stout,
Yes.
Capron,
Yeah.
Motion to post for street superintendent position on City Hall door only, carried unanimous. 8.13, review and approval of the fiscal year 2022 fire department budget.
move to approve.
Was that you, Rich? I'm sorry.
Yes, it was.
Thank you.
I'll second that.
Motion by Rich, second by Alan, to approve the fire department budget as submitted. Is there any council questions? Is there any public comment? Beth, would you conduct the roll call?
Zumba,
Yes.
Stout,
Yes.
Friend,
Yes.
Crump,
Yes.
Yes.
Lockhart,
Yes.
Motion to accept the budget as submitted carried unanimous. 8.14, review and approval of current bills.
Move to approve.
Motion by Rich,
Second.
second by Galen. Is there any council question or comment on the bills as they were submitted? Any public comment? Beth, would you conduct the roll call, please?
Lockhart,
Yes.
Capron,
Yes.
Crump,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Zumba,
Yes.
Stout,
Yes.
Motion to approve the bills as submitted carried unanimous. 9.0, city administrator's report.
This week I was notified that we were approved for our $131,000 from the COVID relief money from the funds for that. We're working on getting a data pull for our new accounting system. We have run into a snag with getting our current accounting system to cooperate with that data pull, so working on that. We've been working on budget sheets, still no update on hotel motel deposit yet. I was hoping to be there by today, but I didn't see it in there. Good news though, we have had quite an uptick in local option sales tax funds with the online sales being taxed now. And everybody ordering from their house apparently. So that was almost double our normal deposit at the beginning of this month. So we probably do have enough to offset the funds if we did still want to award the hotel motel funds, because some of them do come out of local option sales tax, like the Hometown Pride comes out of local option. A few of the other ones can come out of local option. So I mean, we will probably be okay awarding those if you wanted to move that way. I will bring it back on the agenda on the 14th so we can finalize that. And I should have the hotel motel amount by then.
Would you make sure we have, as hard of numbers as we can view for?
Yeah. So every month on my treasurer's report, you have a hard number for local option. The 65% number is the one that is the money we can spend on anything. The 35% is the restricted portion. So yeah, so you can always look and see where we're at fund-wise for that money there. Hotel motel is a little harder to pick out just because it's just a general fund. So anyway, and this year I would like to do a more detailed account of revenue than we have in the past during the budgeting process. I think we just look at it as the large number for property tax revenue, which we have a lot of other things that kind of go into our revenue. So I've kind of done another spreadsheet where I want to compare the actual revenue we get for what we project, because I didn't see anywhere where we had done that previously. So I like to know if our money is closer to going out too. That's about it.
Is there any questions for Beth from her report or any other matters? All right, thank you, Beth, for providing that information. 10.0 Mayor Council's reports, 10.1 Mayor's report. I have nothing at this time. 10.2 Council reports.
Well, I have to admit that I forgot to go to the library board meeting because, well, never mind why. I understand it was a fairly regular meeting that they talked about budget and COVID status and that they're continuing curbside pickup till further notice.
All is quiet on my side.
From tourism, Beth, this is kind of towards a hotel motel. But Bob pulled off the information for fiscal year 20 versus fiscal year 19. Fiscal year 20, the hotel motel was $76,066. Fiscal year 19 was $95,511 for a difference of $22,445. And Anamosa was down $23,027.
Did he have any, did they give him any insight on what was the change?
Well,
What happened between 19 and 20?
well, the only thing I can tell you is for 20 would not from March been part of that. March till July 1st.
If it was fiscal year, it should be July to July. So yeah, I guess it could be part of that. Part of it. Yeah.
Yeah, so you have at least 3 solid months of pandemic in there.
Yeah.
Well, and last year we had the Gothic couple.
Oh,
here
right.
That brought,
Well, you had that, but look at all of the loss of, you know, the potential of any hill climbs, any motorcycle rallies. There was a loss of a lot of events.
you're right.
When you give thought to it, Rich, it wouldn't take long to identify where that shortcoming really is.
Correct. But that just gives you an idea of what potentially we could be looking at for the third quarter of 2020, starting July 1st to September 1st. We're still going to be down somewhat in that time frame. So, you know, losing $23,000 potentially in 3 months or 4 months, what's going to happen? It's going to take a while to pick it back up.
Okay, well, thanks for the report, Rich. There's nothing else. I'll move to 11.0, public comment for items not on the agenda. There appears to be nobody on site that has any questions or comment. Rebecca, are you seeing anybody prompting you to address the council?
I am not.
All right. 12.0 adjournment.
So moved.
Second. Motion by John, second by Alan. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Motion to adjourn carried unanimous. Council, thank you for getting through a lengthy agenda. I appreciate all your work prior to the meeting.